What's up, everyone? It's Shannon from Godsmack and from the Apocalypse Blues Revival, and you are listening to the Metal Teddy Bear Experience. Crank it up.
The Metal Teddy Bear Experience has begun.
And welcome back to the Metal Teddy Bear Experience podcast right now. This is your host, Chris. We got Jesse. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Yo, how's it going, guys?
And we have a very special guest. You might know him as the drummer of Godsmack, but now he's here to talk about his new project, the Apocalypse Blues Revival. Shannon Larkin, what's up? How you doing?
My man.
What's that? Thanks for having me, guys.
Dude, thank you today. And it's a pleasure to talk to you on the album release day of your debut record for this new project. How stoked are you for this?
I am so stoked. I mean, it's crazy. I made 37 records in 36 years.
Jeez.
And as I woke up today and this one was coming out, I felt literally as excited as my very first record. And it's probably because, this is the first one I've ever tried to produce and mix myself, and we're releasing it independently, do-it-yourself world again. And so it's like super exciting right now to me, this whole release of songs. And I always trip out about like strangers in their room, like listening, to our inside of our brain kind of. It's a trip to me, man. I love this. It never gets old.
Well, that's great that you've been doing this for so long and still feel that excited by it. Because, there's some people that just go through the motions, and after a while they're like, I've done this before. It's like another album, whatever. But like for you to be this excited about this new project is really cool. And I mean, just listening to the album today, I could tell that a lot went into it. And it's very different from, the previous project, you would say, because you released like 2 albums before.
In the review, right?
Yeah, the review.
Yeah. And, we started the review. It was just, Tony and I were jamming, and we've written a bunch of Godsmack songs, and we were done kind of like we had the rock part of us had drained out, and we were but we still continued to come to the studio and just jam and try and see what would come up out of the universe. And turned out it was just this slow blues thing. And Tony starts playing lead guitar. And long story short, I didn't know the guy worshipped at the same blues altars as I did with Johnny Winter and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King and all these dudes that we love. I love their phrasing and the lyric. I love blues. And so we wanted to try and do a traditional blues thing for fun. We called it Blue Cross, and we actually played in clubs for like 6 years here in Southwest Florida with Brian Carpenter, who's our bass player in the Revival, and the singer who sang for the review, Ray for John Sorbonne. And he's an older gentleman. He had a more bluesier voice perhaps than Shane, who has this multi-range voice that just he can, he opened up. So basically, we started writing these songs, and Tony and I, have the rock in us, and we both love Pink Floyd massively, and David Gilmour in particular. We always said, wow, he's the best blues guitarist on the planet trapped in a classic rock band. You know what I mean? But his playing is blues. He's a blues guitarist to us. And so we were trying to, the big original idea was to try and mix, traditional blues with like psychedelic rock and 60s and 70s rock, and all these bands that, like Sabbath and Zeppelin and Hendrix and, Creedence, Janis, all these bands that we all just like look up to. The Doors mainly even, with Ray, our old singer, kind of had a Jim Morrison tone to his voice too, But basically my songwriting, started, I'm dictated to by the universe or whatever. When it's like lightning, strikes, and you got to bottle it up, and it just comes from wherever, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden I'll have like all these ideas that start to be cohesive with the next idea, and then a record starts forming, right? And so the second record of the review all of a sudden songs like We Are One and Numinal Blues and Open Spaces started coming in that were more like classic rock, psychedelic rock, but certainly not as blues based, the foundation, you know, because we always tried to keep the foundation of the band blues, you know.
Yeah.
And so basically I got another hit of lightning, you know, got struck by that creative urge, you know, of lightning and wrote a bunch of songs and realized that, wow, man, you know, like the singer was limiting me. And see, you know, I come with most of like the lyrics and melodies, you know, and when I'm writing these songs, and so, but I can't sing for shit. And there it is. Like, I thank you, universe, for all the talent on the drums and all, but I can't sing a goddamn song. So, you know, that said, I'm limited, you know, always by my vocalist for any project that I do, you know. And so Shane, who's been my drum tech, that's a Cinderella story in itself. This dude's been my drum tech for over 20 years. In Godsmack, he's with me in Cannabis and Amen. And, you know, he just has always, he's been one of my best friends and also my tech. And so, you know, we started, well, I didn't even know he could sing until Tony and I, who, you know, Tony's like my ace, my partner in the Godsmack as far as, you know, writing. And because we, you know, Sully will go away and write with other people and write by himself. And he's like, a introvert when it comes to writing. And I mean, he also writes with us, but he's also, you know, he's Sully. And so Tony and I usually end up, you know, locking together because we're pretty like prolific writers. Like we can write a bunch of stuff, you know what I mean? And we're not, some people, you know, can write 5 songs and they take, you know, months and months to perfect them, where Tony and I kind of just put it all out there and without trying to perfect it, so that, because we feel that's what Sully likes to do anyway. Like he'll take our riff and our arrangement and make it his because he writes all the lyrics and melodies in the band Godsmack, right? So I'm kind of like that guy in the apocalypse. You know, the guys can come to me with riffs and all this stuff, and I always have like a vision of like, you know, which way we want to go, you know, creatively. And my thinking was that it seems like in this world we live in the 2000s, that, you know, you kind of, to be successful, you know, and get on the radio and you know, sell lots of records and all that stuff that people call success, you know, you have to kind of sound like what's on the radio and sound like everybody else, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so, oh, you know, and then the radio will accept you and put you on the radio. And so it's like this vicious circle thing. Then I feel like in the 70s, you know, when like the Stones and Bowie and the Beatles and late 60s, 70s, you know, that's when there was this creative burst. And all of a sudden, the bands that sounded unique and were different, you know, than everybody else, those were the bands that people noticed, and people were looking for some new shit, you know what I mean? And so with being in and lucky to be in this big juggernaut band, Godsmack, you know, that has had over 20 years of just success, you know, on our level. And it enabled me and Tony, you know, to be able to do this thing where there's not pressure to try and be liked. You know, what we're trying to do is create unique, original music that make people hopefully, you know, do drugs. I don't know. You know?
Well, there's a lot there, and I'm just kind of curious with the writing aspect for it. When you get these riffs and ideas, do you use like programs or anything to jot them down, or do you just do everything yourself, or record it on your phone? Like, how do you get all these ideas down?
That's exactly it. The iPhone, man, you know, and boom, voice recording. And I'll just, you know, record any kind of riff or lyric or even a catchphrase. Wow, that'd be a cool song title, Crying Like a Bitch or whatever. I'll just say Crying Like a Bitch song title, you know, and then I'll go and you know, either Godsmack or Apocalypse, you know, whichever fits. Crying Like a Bitch fit at Godsmack, you know.
Yeah.
But that was a thing, again, just bang, oh, that'd be a cool name for a song, and hit on my phone. Next thing you know, I'm tell Sully, he's like, Brad, dude, let's do it. And so, but then difference being, then he writes and takes it and writes the song, you know what I mean? We're in the Apocalypse. And that was another reason that I started. The first band I did was Another Animal. And what happened was, you know, I got blessed by Sully Erna seeing me when he was just a drummer coming up in 1986. And
Jeez.
you know, he saw me playing Rothschild, and then his band opened for my band Rothschild back. I'm talking, you know, 86, 85, 86. And we've been friends ever since then. And like, you know, but when I joined Godsmack, you know, already been like, and in love with lyrics and the word. And it's a puzzle to me to try and to be clever with metaphors, and you know what I mean? And try and get my emotion and feelings out there through the word, which is powerful. Right. And so it's something that I love, and it's something that I still have. My notebooks, stack all my notebooks from when I was 16 and started, and I always have a notebook. So I have a stack of notebooks, you know what I mean? And it's just something I've always loved to do, and so when I joined Godsmack, which was huge and changed my life, you know, they'd already sold, I came in on the third record 18 years ago, and they'd already sold 5 million records by then. So I was coming in as a success finally in my life, you know, as a musician at that point of 25, 24 years. And, you know, no success as far as, you know, being able to have a mortgage. Shit, I didn't even have a mortgage, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let alone be able to pay my mortgage. So, you know, the blessing was that the not so much a blessing, or the bummer kind of being in the band Godsmack for me was, wow. And he was straight up about it, like, yeah, you know, I want to write the lyrics, and Godsmack is Sully's vision, it's his band, you know, and like he has lots to say. And so he's like, yeah, you know, I'm the singer, I want to know, I find it better. Some singers like to be able to emote their words, they have to come from their own heart and soul, right? Where you got somebody like Geddy Lee, who I think when he says, and the meek shall inherit the earth, you fucking believe him, right? But he didn't write that line, Neil Peart did. So I was looking always for a singer that could emote my words, you know what I mean? And so being a Godsmack, he laid it right on the line. I do the lyrics and all that. So I kind of started doing side projects pretty immediately, which leads me around in my circular way to Shane. And so Tony and I were playing with one of his good friends, Chris, that plays a stand-up bass. Amazing guy, like Flea on a stand-up bass. And so we were doing full-on Chili Pepper, funkadelic, Sly and the Family Stone style funk, right? Where we'd have horns and backup singers and all this. Did demos, never got signed, never took off. But Shane was singing for our funk side project, and it just never got signed. This was literally over 8 years ago, and we made over 30 songs with Shane over 8 years ago. But anyway, so I just talk a lot, huh?
Oh no, it's all good. It's literally what this is for.
Yeah, we love getting like guys like you on who've been in the industry for this long, like 30 years or, you know, even longer, and then like picking your brain about stuff and how you guys work and how you guys come up with the music you have. Because I mean, me and Jesse have been listening to Godsmack for so long, you know, watching the videos and like hearing you in this project and seeing you guys live. It's just like, you know, always an honor to get your like all this info from you.
It's also, especially someone that was like, you know, you were around before, you know, you were doing it way before you had an iPhone that you could record your ideas. You had to wake up in the middle of the night. You had an idea to go write it on a book, or hopefully someone had I don't even know what you used to do. Like, what would you compare, like when you had an idea back in the day when you didn't have a phone that could just record your idea on the spot? Did you write it in a book? Did you have like any kind of recording device that you could kind of compare it to? What would you do back in the day?
I have, man, always had, you know, they used to be just little dictator or dictation things. And I always had one of those, but I've always had, to this day, even with technology and being able to have notes on your iPhone and write it out, I still have notebooks too. And they're like, you know, they're like sacred little things that travel around, and then, you know, I'll fill them up. And when they're done, you know, sometimes years later is when I'll have, say, a song, or Tony will bring a song to me, and all of a sudden I need a lyric. And so I'll look at the certain like things I've written, poems or whatever it is, words on paper, and certain ones will fit a riff that Tony will bring to me perfectly, like it was made in another time for this riff in this time.
Oh, nice.
And you know, it's magic like that. And like, I'll give you a great example, because we have 6 more songs demoed already, and our record just came out today, you know, as far as Tony and I.
Damn.
And we're going to fly Shane in because I have some great ideas. Anyway, you know, it was another thing. I might not write a song for another 8 months for the apocalypse, but when it strikes, and you got to bottle that shit up like lightning, right? And so, but the example is Tony had this riff and he goes, boom, bam, ba-do-da-do-dum, bam, ba-do-da-do-da, boom, bam, ba-do-da-do-dum, right? And I had a lyric that went, old habits die hard. And so as a chorus, that fucking riff, excuse my French, can I cuss on here?
You're allowed to
Yeah.
curse.
Yeah, that riff, man, was just like, oh my God, it's almost exactly my melody and the lyric, old habits die hard. And he was going, and. So things happen in this world that are crazy like that for like-minded musicians that kind of have, we're on the same vibe. We've made it our life, I mean, so all of a sudden things in our lives start correlating musically, you know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
what we get together for. Like Tony and I don't go to football games together, you know what I mean? We might take ride our bikes together or whatever, but sometimes, but not much, hanging out for, just for fun, because it's our fun is music. That's all it is, People say, yeah, what do you do for a hobby? I'm like, music. Well, no, that's your job. Well,
I do
it's
both.
not really my job, is it? Is that a job? Like,
What started a hobby, it stayed a hobby. You just happen to get paid for it now, luckily.
Yeah.
you made
Yeah.
a job out of your hobby. And like,
how about that, man?
it's awesome.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome, right? Like we got the American dream. It's like Elvis invented that shit. Wow.
Yeah. It goes all the way back then.
Well,
there-
like, oh, sorry. Wait, I just want to ask too, because like watching, especially you with like different types of music, and you just been around so long and just playing all these different types of bands. Like you said, you were jamming around funk. You're in Godsmack's kind of a hard rock, kind of meets a little bit of metal. Wrathchild, America was kind of like a metal band. And then you got this, you're like blues, kind of like almost like more like kind of fusion band you got going on. And I've noticed, like, because I saw you live and you almost like dance when you play the drums, you're kind of all over the place doing your thing. And it's kind of interesting seeing you in a band like Godsmack, where it's very high energy, very in your face. And then I saw a live video, I forgot if it was of the review or the revival. It was on one of your YouTube channels, and it was like a live band playthrough. I think it was of the review. But you're still doing the same thing. You're still channeling that same energy, even though it's a lot less heavy. It's a lot more groove. It's a lot more, you're feeling it. It's interesting. Like, where did you get that style of like always just kind of dancing? Is that just something you morphed? Is that how you feel the music? And how do you transfer it from a band where it's like very aggressive to almost laid back, and you're kind of doing the same thing through like all these different genres? It's interesting to me.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid and it was basically 8 years old that I made a conscious decision in my life that I wanted to play drums for a living.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a drummer. That's what it is, right? And then, all the bands that I would go and see back then, or videos even of bands on MTV, my favorite bands at the time, from 12 and 13 years old, I was, it was all Judas Priest. All right, so like Judas Priest and AC/DC, for instance, were two of my favorite bands back then in the early 80s when I was young. And the drummers just sat there and played, basically. You know what I mean? They had no showmanship. And 90%, I'd say 95% of the year, you had very little drummer showmen. And they were like Keith Moon and, Ginger Baker. There were some guys that got crazy or had a unique look and that you wanted to look at. But most drummers back then, like Phil Rudd, who's one of my favorite drummers, one of the greatest, classiest drummers ever, but, not a showman. And so I, as a young kid who starved for attention and wanted the drums to be as important as the lead guitarist or whatever, I was like, I want to be like Bon and Angus of the band. So I figure, I want to be an entertainer. And so I started like basically banging my head like Angus Young or whatever and trying to be Angus Young on the drums. That was my thing, make people look at me. And, but what happened then, I broke my collarbone playing basketball. And that changed my life. Visually, it changed my life because back then, like now they put you in a sling. Back then it was actually, I had a hard cast. This is great, it's video because I can show you. But so I had a hard cast, like I broke this collarbone and it went all the way around my body. And it was a hard cast. But what it did, it left my hand out like this, but up here high. And so I asked the doctor, well, can I hold a drums? Can I play drums? He said, yeah, it's a hard cast. It's just, you know, you're not going to be able to slam hard, but you can play drums and play beats or whatever. And so I moved my snare drum up high to where I could hit it with my hand glued up here on my chest, right? And then lowered my hi-hat low. And when typically, you know, my right hand's over my left, my hi-hat's up here and my snare's down here, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I've switched it around to here. Now my snare is higher than my hi-hat. So my right hand goes underneath my left hand. And so when I got used to playing like this. I got my snare hand here and my hi-hat's underneath. Well, so when I get the cast off and now I'm back, all right, so now my right hand goes back over my left, lower the snare. So now I'm back to normal stance. But I got so used to playing with my left hand over my right that I could cross over. So the way to cross over without missing a beat on the hi-hat, if you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, and see 4. So you never, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm crossing over both ways, right? And then that became this swing thing. All of a sudden I had a like look that no one else was doing from a broken bone. And I'm like, wow. Because then, you know, immediately everybody's like, wow, what do you know, what's he doing back there? I started getting, you know, people saying, oh, you got to see this guy. And so I kind of went with that and started just not being, you know, caring so much about how I looked and shutting my eyes. I always play with my eyes closed and just letting myself, I was like, you know, this has to be something that comes from outside or inside me, and I can project out on the drums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so in the apocalypse, the coolest thing is, okay, so yeah, what I was going to say is like, even the road crew, that people that have seen me play a lot and love my style or whatever, and watching the interaction of the ambidextrous hand work and stuff like that, they really dig seeing the apocalypse because it is a slower, there's a lot more space in between each beat in a less aggressive music like blues, especially when we do the simmering slow blues. So now you can, like I just demonstrated to y'all, you know, how this works. Well, you can actually see it happen in the apocalypse in real time, because in Godsmack, when I do that move, it's so fast that you're like, whoa, you know, it's hard even for drummers. What are you doing back there? What looks like your pretzel or something, you know, octopus man or whatever. And I'm like, it's actually easy if you see it slowed down and broken down. And so with the apocalypse, which I, you know, certainly write for, you know, psychedelic drug use or whatever, I feel that it should sound, and I don't care if people trip or not, you know, if I've tripped 100 times in my 20s or whatever, you know, like I don't have to trip now. Now I understand what it sounds like. And so I can try and replicate that, or what it feels like, or what it looks like, you know? And so I try and shut my eyes and go into a trip every time I play the drums, you know, even if it's even Godsmack, same thing, man. I shut my eyes, I tune into the instruments, you know, and and we don't use click tracks, neither band, you know, something we're proud of, nothing against dudes that do, you know, it's great running tracks and all that shit. But, you know, so it allows me a little bit of freedom, you know, to move the tempos, and, you know, we're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to be impactful, you know.
That's awesome. That's super interesting.
Did that
Yeah,
that completely answered it. Yeah, because you know, like because why I asked is like I started playing. I play little drums. You know, I'm not like in a band or anything. I just play drums for fun. It's always been
it's very
passion.
good.
Like for years ago, you know, I got into it, and it was because
everybody does.
Yeah, right. And I got into it because of Chris Adler. And Chris Adler, the drummer of Lamb of God, said that you were his reason for getting into drums because he saw your band Wrathchild America play somewhere in Virginia, I think, or he mentioned. And and I just always like, and when I heard that, when I first started getting into drums, I checked you out. And then, you know, a few years down the line, I got to see Godsmack live. And I'm just like, I always wondered, I'm like, man, it just like, you know, when a guy gets so into it and it's just very much a lot of experience behind it, and it's just such solid playing while showing off. Cause, you know, a lot of, especially as youngins, we like to do our stick tricks and stuff. And some people learn stick tricks before they can even play a beat. And it's just like, oh, this is like what it is. It's like, and I kind of noticed it yesterday. I think I was watching one of the videos and I was like, yeah, he's just dancing. You know, you're just kind of dancing with, you know, the drums make people dance. It's like, what helps people dance? When the drummer's dancing to the own beat, you're kind of feeling the groove and it kind of sends it to the crowd. I always found that super interesting, especially when you have all those different genres, examples of it.
And it's fun, it's like, it should be, music should, even if you're playing blues, it's deep ass music, but you should still enjoy, the actual playing, and so, and also, I've taken in Godsmack before, like on the 4 record, and just completely changed my drum set and moved everything to different positions because, after so many decades of doing it, I don't want to be boring, and I don't want to get bored playing the drums, so if I move some things out of its comfort zone, then it becomes, now I'm more in it. I have to pay attention more. I can't just go through the motions, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Some people go through the motions. I don't want to be the guy who goes through the motions. I'd rather quit the business if I'm going to be going through the motions. And look, I don't need to do this anymore. I've been very, very fortunate, and I don't have some mansion and fucking, or some fancy car. I got a Camaro and whatever. You know what I mean? I don't need to do this, and that's been a goal of mine. And someday to be able to say, I don't need to do this. Well, that day arrived probably 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever. Where I'd saved enough money to where I really don't need to do it anymore. So now I can just do it for the right reason.
That's awesome.
And so I'm blessed and lucky, dudes. I'm not bragging, man. Believe me when I say, you'll never meet a more appreciative dude for the music business and drum and songs, and just being able to immerse myself in this as every day. I have a rehearsal room that I just made a couple years ago, and it's just like my dream of my whole life is just making music. And it's, people are all, how do you stay so passionate or whatever? I don't know. I just know that everyone has that passion in them for music. It's a universal language. Everyone knows it. I think it's just maybe spirituality and allowing yourself to let it in, and let it out.
Yeah. Well, also it seems like maybe because, from what, from what you're saying here, you never treated it like a job. Like, of course you need money to survive, but you seem to be very much, like you said, you love it and you just wanted, it's your hobby and you just wanted to do your hobby as much as possible. You just happened to get good enough to where you got money for it. So that kind of helps passion, where people, I feel like they say like, oh, it became a job. And the second something becomes a job, even if they love it with all their heart, they're like, oh, I got to do this for the paycheck now. Great. It's like, well, that's what you wanted to do. But for some reason, when it gets put as a job context, people like, you start dreading it, because everyone likes to complain about their job, even if it's like a dream job.
Yeah.
People like, but if you don't view it as a job, I'm assuming it's really, the passion sticks around a lot longer. Right?
Oh, Shannon, did you freeze?
Oh, I thought you just like, I was like,
Shit.
Hey, there you are.
I thought that was your way of shit answer. I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Then he just fucking hung up on us.
It's like, and the interview's over.
No, man. So yeah, I don't know what the hell that was. I live in kind of in the sticks in Florida. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like out north Fort Myers. It's like cattle ranches and horse country out here. And so internet totally sucks. I went from I just switched over to a couple months ago from AT&T over to Verizon because all of my new neighbors were saying, oh shit. Everybody's saying, oh, dude, in this area, because AT&T I've had for really since I first got a phone, which is another interesting story. I joined Godsmack in 2002 was when I actually joined officially in 2003. But 2002 we were, Sully was sniffing around, and I was like, well, if you guys actually get rid of Tommy, then call me. I'm not going to do this behind the back shit.
Yeah.
Whatever. And he's like, well, it's going to happen. It's the right timing. I just wanted you to be aware. And I'm like, cool. And so he's like, yeah, so what's your cell phone number? And I go, yeah, I don't have a cell phone. It's 2-3, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, I'm sorry. This was when I had agreed to join or to come and play with Godsmack. And he's like, well, you need a cell phone to be in Godsmack. And I go, really? Why? And he's like, well, because it's a it's something that if we need to get a hold of you, you know, we need you and you need to be ready and to be in this band, you need a cell phone, dude. All right. And I'm like, okay, all right. And the next day, a Motorola flip phone, cell phone thing showed up. And I'm like, all right, I got a cell phone now. And then he's like, yeah, have you seen the Awake live video, you know? And I'm like, what? On what? TV or something? He's like, no, you have a VCR, right? I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have a VCR. I don't think of these things, right? So he sent me a VCR and a cell phone. Yeah. But I don't know why I just went off on that story, but
No,
it's
No,
funny.
I gotta ask though, what room are you in right now? I love the whole color scheme and everything right now. Is that like a jam room or something for you?
No, this is my my vinyl room. It's like where I listen to my records,
Awesome.
and it's super saucy. It's so. I wish you could see it. The phone probably doesn't do it justice, but it's like walking into like 1968.
Looks cool as
You
shit
know,
though.
and I have these awesome creatures too. Look at this.
Oh, nice.
That's my
Wow.
albino red-eared slider. That's Mama. Hey, Mama. And that's Johnny Winter, albino. You know.
Yeah.
That's
What do
awesome.
you say,
That's
bud?
so sick, dude.
Yeah,
Look at his fingernails. Looks like
I gotta
Isn't that cool?
catch up. I gotta catch up. All I got is a white sheet
But
and some
yeah, man.
garbage. I gotta catch up. I gotta
This
get
is
like a
like
tarp or something.
my
Yeah, well when the phone went to the ceiling and I saw the
yeah.
whole room, I was like, damn, that was really awesome.
This record, this Apocalypse shit is real special to me. So I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna come right back.
Yep, here we go.
Perfect.
But this is these are koi ponds.
shit.
Can't really
Oh
see
my
right
God.
now, but I have so let me see here. What do we got? Yeah, you can't see. All right, I'll go back inside. I wanted to show you like that turtle out there, man. I have this whole turtle pond. I don't know if you can see these guys, but it's outside.
Slightly.
And I got
Awesome.
19 turtles. I'm on my way in right now.
Yeah. That's so
Awesome.
cool, man. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah, it's also definitely the most interesting place we've like interviewed. Well, you know, we've only done digital interviews over like the Zoom, and usually it's just some dude's room with like some garbage on the side. It's just like this is far cooler than most of the places people have interviewed.
Rad. Yeah, man, I'm sitting in the egg chair.
There
I'm
it is.
back.
Okay. So
I
just
am back.
one question I had about the record and
Fire away, man. What's next?
track number 4, No One Will Miss Me. At the end, you guys have like a people are talking, whatever. Is that you or is that from some like a clip from a movie or something like that?
No, that was us. And the only dialogue I had was, the first line Shane says is something about, you got to know where you're going. And then I wanted the three of us, Tony, Brian, and myself, just to say, hey, I know where I'm going. And then for that to go into the chaos of reverb and echo
Yeah.
for the trippers out there, and then boom into the doorway. Because honestly, the whole record is a semi-concept. In that the first song, Waltz the Antichrist, it's starting. It's a story basically of it's semi-autobiographical, but it's a character that I came up with that kind of goes through realization in the first 3 songs that he's on the left-hand path and he was in a dark life, and so he questions. The first 3 songs are basically questioning that path. Hey, is it me, or am I wrong to be on this path in life? And furthermore, am I the only one, or is it just human nature? Is that the way it should be? And it's a lot of questioning. Well, and then by the time the 4th song, No One Will Miss Me, happens, our catalyst is dying, and I never even thought of how he died or why he's dying, but he's dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and of course he has the blues, so No One Will Miss Me became a catchphrase there. But See You in the White Room was Shane's version of, he had a near-death experience one time in which he went to the proverbial white room, where a lot of people have said that they might be in a tunnel and see a white light at the end of it or whatever. And some people just simply go to a white room. And that's what happened to Shane. And so that's what the see you in the white room means after death, in the Satan's Beach Boys refrain. I call it Satan's Beach Boys, that where it breaks down near the end of the song and it's just a vocal thing where it's see you in the white room and he says goodbye. Well, we're in there trying to sing that like the Beach Boys or something. So that's why we call that Satan's Beach Boys. But anyway, and so once you die, then the halfway point of the record and the concept is having died, then going through this doorway into another dimension, wherever we go, whatever you believe. But certainly we go somewhere, right? Is my reckoning. And so I believe in reincarnation. And I believe that, so anyway, written into the world. So after the doorway, I feel like, so our guy has gone, has crossed the abyss after death and went through the doorway, ended up where he's going to go, where he chooses his reincarnation because he has the knowledge to be able to do that in the afterlife, and is written back into the world on the right-hand path now. So after the midway point, written into the world starts, I made way for the prophet, made way for the gods, made way for the sixth grade star. All these things are all spiritual, occult things, Yeah. And after written into the world is when he finds the right-hand path, then optimistic is the song, and change is coming, and the change is happening. Now he's shifted from the dark, left-hand path over to the right-hand path. And then, obviously, from optimistic, change is coming soon, it goes to enjoy the ride, which is him finally, being able to enjoy life again because he feels like he's righteous and on the right path, right? And then Gecko is furthering that theory of being on the right path with actual joy and realization that when Shane and I came up with that also, when we say gecko, just substitute the word gecko for God. So I'm a God, you, him, and her, we can all be gods, right? And so that's what we meant by I'm a gecko. I'm a God now, I've got it. I'm one with the universe, one with God. So we are our gods, Theory. It's a concept record, really,
Yeah.
It's a theory record. And it's made to be provocative. It's made to try and make people think. And it's certainly made by this band to hope that people will listen to a record.
Oh, I think he
had enough of your shit, Chris.
damn.
Back.
Yeah.
I had to go and get high. No. So anyway, what I meant to convey by that long jargon there was the like Dark Side of the Moon kind of is a record that is hard to listen to just a little part of it. Like to me it's a body of work, that takes me on a journey. So I try and when I listen to Dark Side of the Moon, I try and give myself 45 minutes so I can listen to take the whole trip with them. It's like a bunch of a roller coaster of emotions, with valleys and peaks, and it's interesting and spaced, and the mix is also my favorite sounding rock record. The drums sound like they're right in the room with you. The guitar tones are just amazing, and of course, I look at that record as a starting point when I'm trying to string songs together. Like sometimes we'll have 15, 16 songs. We can only fit 9 on a record. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And so as I try and make it a cohesive record,
There's one song, I forgot which one it was, but as soon as you guys start with the drums and the bass, it comes right in. It's like a bass drop almost. And I felt like having it with my headphones on, I was like, wow, this is impactful right now. So I think you guys did a great job with the mix and production.
Well, thanks, man. That makes me feel great. Like I said, it was my first one really taking those reins, and being able to to have that kind of control and confidence. And honestly, you know, our last record, it was the review, and we got Dave Fortman, who produced 2 Godsmack records. He did a couple Slipknot records. My God, he did Evanescence first couple records. He's a huge producer, right? Famous guy. And also was the guitarist of Ugly Kid Joe, a band that I was in for 6 years. And so we are dear friends. We lived together. We toured together and made records for 6 years on the road. And so we're super close. And he got famous after Ugly Kid Joe as a producer. And so, you know, I made that first Apocalypse record, and the band we kind of just went in there, and man, we just recorded all these songs we had been playing in clubs for 6 years, and it was kind of that thing. And so no real production, and Dave Fortman was to mix. So I didn't really even feel I produced that record. We all produced it, right? And so the second record, you know, I kind of had a musical catharsis and came up with some new songs that weren't so traditional blues and were more unique, maybe, you know, to me and to us, more original sounding stuff. And so I said, listen, guys, you know, I'd like to try and produce this thing, but, you know, and I made at that point 35 records, you know, and so
crazy.
I think I have the knowledge to do it, but, you know, but my confidence wasn't great enough yet to attempt it. So I called Dave Fortman and said, hey man, can you co-produce this with me? Come in, you know, show me how it's done. I mean, I like, again, made a shit ton of records and all, and he's like, of course, dude. And so he came in and we did pre-production, and I just stayed by Dave's side, and we recorded and mixed that last record, The Shape of Blues to Come. It's the second Apocalypse review record. And so this time, and that record turned out sonically awesome also. It sounds good, you know what I mean? And we got exactly, me and Dave took a bunch of acid and sat in this very room and we listened for, you know, 5 to 6 hours of just all of our favorite mixes. We had notepads under the influence. It was work. And so we came up with, I want the hi-hat sound from Steve Miller Band's Fly Like an Eagle album. I want the snare drum sound from Beatles' Abbey Road. I want the tom sound from Zeppelin's Kashmir, whatever, you know.
Oh, nice.
And we did this whole thing, man, and it fleshed out, you know, and we realized, you know, we're onto something here. And so that all happened, and then the record came out, and it, you know, it sold like 5,000 copies or something. You know, we're not trying to be commercial or sell records, but with the same token, that said, you know, Provog was the label we were on, and you know, they have like, it's a big blues label. They got like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and they got, you know, Walter Trout, they got Robert Cray, they got you know, Joe Bonamassa. So they got all the blues guys. Well, we only signed a 2-record deal, and after The Shape of Blues only sold, you know, 5,000 records or whatever. You know, they didn't up the contract and offer us another deal. So then we found ourselves without a record deal, and I had all these new songs. One of them was The Doorway. One of them was Can't Shake the Blues. And then I had, Tony and I had Optimistic and Enjoy the Ride. And so the sound was obviously going in a different direction. And I thought, well, the record deal's over. And so, you know, maybe we start looking for a different singer. Maybe now's a perfect time, you know what I mean? And by the way, we still do the review too. We're proud of those first 2 records. We can play some 3-hour blues shows, man, that are just awesome here in Florida. You know, lots of blues bars we play, and you can we improvise and jam. We'll play Red House for 15 minutes, man. And blues is an awesome genre, right? But, you know, I'll still do that, but I have a bigger scope of, you know, like reaching more people. And again, I don't need money. It's not about money. To me, it's just about, you know, ultra creativity in the way I feel bands used to do it in the 70s, you know, in the late 60s and 70s, in this creative zone of trying purposely to be unique without, you know, going completely mad and being Frank Zappa and the Mothers. You know what I mean? And then, you know, making music that, you know, it's not cohesive and there's not hooks, or so I want to write hooks. I want to be like, my ultimate vision of having a unique and different band was to mix Pink Floyd and David Bowie with Albert King and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And now you get this, blues psychedelic rock, and that's what
It's awesome.
I feel that's what we're doing, But oh man, uh, the new stuff we're doing is even trippier and all. But I guess we'll see how people react to this, and if people are interested, we'll keep doing it, and if they're not, we'll keep doing it.
Well, I really hope you guys keep doing it. I mean, listening to the record
Yeah.
today, it was awesome. A great record, and 45 minutes, like a whole concept, a whole journey.
Awesome, man. Thank you for listening to the whole damn thing. I talked to so many people that I'm like, wait, well, you're a music lover, why wouldn't you that it's about time, I guess, and as we get older, we have less time to do things. Like I read, I got 2 to 3 books open a week, I'll read 2 nonfiction books and a fiction book. And so, but I've always got books in every room that I can sit down. And so, and again, I am blessed with this awesome job that I have, right? So I have a lot of time, but I tell people, even if it's 20 minutes a day, try and just read 20 pages or whatever.
Yeah.
And to me, music and books make you smarter and worldlier and just more in tune to where, I want to be able to be like a chameleon and be able to, if I'm at some highfalutin function, I want to be able to have the proper etiquette, right? And be worldly to be able to have dinner with a politician, for instance. I mean, I'm just off the top of my head,
Yeah.
because that's the most different person on this planet than me, a politician. But I could go, yeah, and still, hold my own at a dinner table. You know what I mean? And these things aren't important on a deep level to me. They're important on a daily level,
Well, Shannon, this was a terrific interview, and you gave us such great insight. You gave us great answers, and I gotta say, I really appreciate you going into depth, giving us detail about the project and stuff like that, and giving us your time. And you actually gave us a tour of your awesome room right there, your listening room.
Oh man. Well, I thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being patient with me with missing the first time.
It's all
And
good.
Yeah, it's all good.
I can be a scatterbrain sometimes, but and also thank you really, man, from us, for helping us push this apocalypse thing. Cause again, I don't need to do it. And I really feel that the 4 of us have this chemistry. And, I try and tell people sometimes, like, and it's hard if you're not a musician to understand the importance of chemistry, and that you can have the greatest bass player, greatest drummer, greatest singer, and greatest guitar player in a band, and it's just not live. It sucks. And you're like, wow, man, it's a super group, but it's not that great. Well, it's because they're chemistry. And so, you get like some musicians in a room and they might not be the best players, but the chemistry's there. And so they'll make magic music. I mean, from anyone, from even like if you listen like AC/DC or something, when they first came out, there was even out of tune guitars on some of the early records on High Voltage and stuff. And, they weren't like the most talented group, but the chemistry was undeniable,
Yeah.
and it's something that can't be bought or sold. It's something that, you have to be lucky as a musician, what less than 1% of bands even get signed, let alone, that's a stat, by the way, less than 1%. That's what this
Jeez.
necklace, we came up with the less, because we're in the less than 1% group. Not only did we get signed, but less than 1% of bands have more than 2 record career once they're signed. Less than 1% of bands go gold or platinum. Less than 1% of bands have more than a 3-year career.
Wow.
Now, all these stats, and they keep going on. The
Yeah.
stats keep going on and on. So we feel we're in the less than 1% club. And man, we're very, very appreciative of that. And if it weren't for dudes like you guys doing this for me right now, then we wouldn't have shit, because no one would know us. No one would know to listen to it. Like now, however many people watch your show, maybe they'll go, wow, that was interesting. I'm going to check it out. And that's all I ask. If you like it, cool, buy a record. That's awesome. Then maybe you can see us on tour, because if no one buys this record, we can't tour. It's that simple,
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, well, that's why I always say, well, if, on the show, it's always just like, it's like when people like, oh, I don't really want to buy a record, or like, people like downloading, like years ago started downloading music. And it's always like, it never made sense to me. It's like, I may not have had a lot of money when I was a kid, but I tried to buy records because, well, I want the thing I like to stay around. If you don't got money, it's like, oh, well, they're just going to
be here.
They're just going to be here with no bills or anything. They're just going to float in this like random, like not in the real world thing and just keep making shit. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like eventually they have to move on. It's like,
well, there's one more thing I just want to ask before you go. I know time is running out. The latest update on Godsmack, it's been 2 years since the last album. Do you guys think you'll be putting out an album next year in 2021?
We will not. What we're doing is we've already begun the process of building our new studio in Florida. And we're officially a Florida band now. Everybody's here.
Nice.
Everybody's moved here. Everybody followed me here. I was the first guy to come. Literally, Rambola, Sully just moved here. He was the last guy to finally leave the Boston area. And his house is 7 minutes from mine now. And we're building, like I said, our new headquarters / recording studio. We've done the last couple records. It's been up in Boston, until now. And our goal is to just write as much material as possible. We're very fortunate, again, and very blessed to be able to not really feel this virus. It hasn't hurt us. We were lucky also. I talk about, how important luck is even more than talent, because, we happened to drop our record in October of 2018. And so it came out, we immediately did a 2-month tour, then took off January because everything shuts down kind of. And then, man, from February all the way until Christmas of 2019, we were on the road, 3 world tours, all this crap.
Damn.
We stayed literally on the road. The most I had off last year, or in 2019 at home, was 3 weeks at once. And then boom, back out for 6 weeks, 6 to 10 weeks, whatever. It's like that all year. And so, but that's good because, our record's out, we got songs at radio, and we kept playing and playing and playing, man, and doing what we do, touring our ass off. And then 2020 hit, and we were going to go for 6 more months. When 2020 hit in February, we put out Unforgettable, this our 4th single, after the first 3 went number 1, by the way. And so we put the fourth single comes out, goes number 1. And we're in a group of just 3 other bands in history that have 4 number 1 hits off one record in rock. So one of them, Shinedown. But anyway, so we're like, well, hell yeah. So we'll stay on tour. Why not? And we had shows, festival gigs with Metallica, direct support, and all these super rad, things still happening for us when the pandemic hits, right? And so next thing you know, all the shows are canceled, everything's done, and we're looking at each other going, we've just spent close to 1.5 years on tour supporting this record. We're the luckiest dudes on the planet. Think of the bands that had a 2020 release, and all of a sudden, because you can't sell records if you can't tour. I don't care if you're Godsmack or the Apocalypse, whoever. You have to get out there and play your music to win fans. I mean, that's what it's about, I think, in music. That's the payoff for us too. So, and so Godsmack is like, we're lucky. We took basically this year off to move the studio and do all this kind of stuff. And in the meantime, by the way, we've all been individually writing, and Tony and I have probably 6 to 10 songs just to feed to Sully and see if if it's on the right path, because he has the vision. Every record in Godsmack comes 4 years apart, every single one. If you do look at the history,
Mhm.
exactly 4 years apart on each record. And so we're at like 3 now. So it's going to work out for us again, in which we had to have the rest of this year off basically to finish the studio, which we don't have hammers and nails. We're not building this, but we have people building the studio.
Yeah.
And by the way, yeah, the walls are up, the doors are in, the AC ducts went in today, all the shit's happened. So we hope to have it done by, the first week of January, in which we will start getting together, the 4 of us in that room, and just start fleshing shit out, man, letting shit come out of the air and the universe to us and starting to try and write songs with the intent of getting into the studio by the fall and making the new record for a 2021 or 2022 release and tour. And so the good part about that is, and we got this new president and, it doesn't look like this pandemic is letting up. And, my buddy told me, Shane, our singer, my buddy, my best friend, told me today that his town in California, they shut down. You can't, it's a quarantine now. And he's in Northern California, 45 minutes outside of San Francisco. And he's his whole town, you can't go out to eat. And I was like, wow. And that's because, it's a full-on Democrat town. I'm not getting political here. It's what it is. And because I live in Florida, it's the most open state in the U.S. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and this thing is real. Don't get me wrong. It's like, it's screwed us all. And we are going to be, I fear screwed all through next year too, for the most part, for touring. There even if we can play clubs with the Apocalypse, we'll come here in Florida and we'll play clubs, right? Even then it's going to be 50% capacity, social distancing, masks, all this bullshit. You know what I mean? We'll do it because we're desperate to play these songs live. By the way, yeah. Like I got this electronic drum kit sampler. It's just a pad with six pads on it, made by Yamaha. And I've sampled all the backing vocals, like, so set light and like all the like in the effects too, like in Written Into the World, in the verses you hear this they go by. I have that shit. I have that.
Yeah, that's it.
My pads, and so no click tracks, none of that shit. But I can still enhance it by sampling, and so I did like. How like in the doorway when it goes, no matter what you believe. That part,
Awesome.
I hit the pads and go, believe. It's just bad. So we're so excited, and of course we haven't played with it because we can't play now.
Yeah.
But so we're hoping to write January, February, and I spoke to Sully today actually about when the best time for us to go, and because he likes to write alone too, and he writes with other people even. So we're trying to time it to where we get all the Godsmack stuff done. Well, not done, but start the process. Try and get some songs under our belt in January and February, and then in March, April, give the Apocalypse some space to go out and try and play. In this country and wherever we can, whatever we can do, if it's drive-ins or whatever, I don't care. I just want to get out there and
play shows.
And play. And so, and of course, well, the whole, like streaming, we can also play a concert like in my rehearsal plays, right? And stream it live to people. And if that's what we have to do, we'll do that too. But we're definitely going to get out there. And then, so May, June, July, August, September, October, we try and really strengthen a record up and get in there in November, December and record the new one and try and put it out with a tour announcement in 2020, 2021, 2022. Isn't that crazy? It's like, wow, yeah.
So far away.
And it is far away. It's ridiculous. This is but we're relegated to that because of this pandemic and, nothing I guess we can do about it. So we just, stay positive and, and try and just dig on love, light, and the universe.
Oh, dude, this was such a
That's
pleasure
awesome.
talking to you about everything like this. Thank you for giving us the insight to everything. And man, enjoy your dinner and enjoy the rest of your night.
Oh, thanks, man, and thank you guys. And you want me back? Just reach out. I come on anytime.
Thank
my
you, man. We appreciate it. You're always welcome back.
Oh, dude. Total
Awesome.
honor. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Have a good
Thank
night,
you.
man.
Guys. Thanks. See ya.
My bad.
And welcome back to the train. Okay, the Metal Teddy Bear Experience right now.
Train
The podcast with my boy Jesse. What's up, dude?
What's up? How's it going?
Pretty excited, pretty pumped because we got to talk to Shannon Larkin, the drummer of Godsmack, the drummer of the Apocalypse Blues Revival and Review as well. But dude, awesome guy to chat with, a legend, as you like to say, and a guy who's been, what do you say, 35 records in 36 years or 34 records in 35 years?
I think it said
whatever it is, it's
36
amazing.
records in 35 years. Basically, yeah, he basically almost
Crazy.
recorded, something like a record a year
Crushing
almost.
it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like I kind of said, some of the connection issues didn't get really it was. Luckily, he talks a lot of interesting stuff. Like he's the kind of guy. He's got an unreal amount of experience, an unreal amount of knowledge, and luckily he just goes with it and starts kind of just openly sharing it with you. So even though we had some connection problems, well, he just kind of hit us with the book, which is awesome in a good way. It wasn't
and he
even
picked up after it too, like when he wasn't afraid to repeat himself too, which is nice.
And
Some people are like, I'll just move on to the next question.
Yeah, which is awesome. And again, almost not trying to make it about myself, but like I said, like almost my drum lineage. Like he's almost like my drum granddad, because like the guy that got me into drums, like he got him into drums. And, watching him, we got to see Godsmack. Luckily, that one year they did Mayhem Fest.
Did you know about his breaking his collarbone again, that cast where he had to do it like that?
No fucking idea.
Dude, that's so cool and interesting. That makes total sense, because I remember you saying that he was like a very enthusiastic drummer, and we got to see him do a drum off. Actually, I don't know if I saw him at that Rock Truck Festival thing.
Oh, that's cool.
But
I didn't
they
go
did
to
like
that
a drum off and stuff like that. So
yeah.
anyway, oh my God.
Nice.
That was so cool that he shared that with us and his turtles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he was an open book, and it's just like, dude, even if you're not into drums, even if you're not into even if you're not into any of the music he makes, really, it's just like when you got that much experience in one body and just like that much talent, like it's just an honor and a privilege to talk to someone like that. And yeah, dude, he shared a lot of cool stuff with us, and it was a super privilege. And hell, I'd sit there and listen to him talk for a couple hours. I'm pretty good. Just give me a comfier seat, dude. I fucking hate my chair. I gotta buy a better one.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed in like almost every episode, I'm kind of wiggling around. I don't have the most comfortable setup, but it's getting there. But we want to talk to you about the next episode that's coming up. Remember, as we said, we're going to have like a top 5 albums of the year kind of thing. So we're going to have a band on next week to discuss this with us. They're a band we've had on the show before, and they're going to share their top 5 albums of 2020. So get ready for that. That's going to be dropping next week after this episode. So guys, get pumped. And thank you for listening, tuning in. Always remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell, because people like doing that. Smash that like button. I know that's a popular phrase.
Destroyed.
Follow
here.
Jesse on
Edit it in right here. The subscribe button. Just smash that. Smash it. Clank. They put the
point
Koopa
here to point to you.
What is that? The Koopa thing from Mario Party, the Bowser thing. Just smash the like button. Just crush it.
Do that. Follow Jesse on his reactions.
Do all that stuff. But yeah, follow this guy's radio show, whatever dumb side it is, because Zoom, there's no continuity apparently. I have no idea. And again, honor Shan. I'm so happy that. Well, I'm just happy. That
I'm so happy right now.
Wait, shut up, dude. I had like an hour of sleep.
I'm so happy.
Well, no,
on.
Well, no, I am. It's a fucking honor. Again, like I can't say it enough. And it's also like the music's cool. Like I really don't listen to blues that much, and it kind of reminded me. Like I know it's not straight blues, like especially the review, but like, dude, it's fucking cool music that I kind of realized I don't check out as much as
you should.
And also just seeing a guy like that is excited for a record is cool. And we got to talk to the person on the day the record's released. So
yeah,
super cool. Get pumped for the top 5 albums. We're going to be talking about that. I'm going through hell right now because I kind of forgot that how many records were released this year, despite it being a fucking pandemic.
Yeah, a lot of bands put out music.
Really good music too. Like people were not slouching, even though. Well, I guess it makes sense. Everyone was pissed off and sad, so everyone was just writing fucking music, especially in metal. It really is good
I guess
fuel.
you could say they were all hitters and no critters.
Yeah, no, it's that Hatebreed record's unreal.
All right. Well, guys, thank you tuning in. Get ready for next week. Maybe share your top albums of 2020 in the comments below or in that episode or whatever. Social media, anything you want. Was that
yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, dude, Instagram, post it anywhere. Send it to the Twitter, the comment section. Post the 5. Hell, even just 1. I'll tell you right now, man. I'm not going to tell you right now because I just realized it's the whole point of the next episode. But yeah, I'm telling you. Well, if you listen to us at all, you could probably tell at least what is in me and Chris's top 2. I can guarantee.
Yeah, I feel like we were pretty easy.
One of the albums, at least. So I'm excited. It's also cool going back. So go check it out. I just slammed my desk for some reason. And thanks for stopping by.
All right, guys. As always, keep it real.